Hey everybody, it's Bevin. This is Bevin, a femme over 40 and her friends podcast. I'm your host, Bevin. I've said my name 3 times. It's time to start the show. For those of you who are new to the podcast, I just want to introduce myself. I teach fat kid dance party aerobics for anyone who feels left behind by mainstream fitness. If you've ever been called too much, too fat, or felt too awkward to dance, mine is the supportive class for you. This podcast is really about all the different ways there are to be a happy, successful adult. I interview lots of my friends. I love to interview them over time so you can get a chance to witness people's growth over time, but also like all the really different ways there are to be an adult human in the world. I think a lot of us are raised in some form of fundamentalism, whether it's just society standards or if it's, evangelical fundamentalism or religious fundamentalism in some kind of controlling culture. This is an opportunity for you to meet lots of different people. I feel like one of the best things that happened to me as a young adult was coming out as queer and creating really diverse friend groups and just wildly blowing my mind about what was possible. So that's what I want to offer to you. I also my goal in life is to help people regard themselves with love and grace. And that mission has kind of evolved in language over time, but that's always been the driving force. And my language might continue to evolve as we all do. But this plus my aerobics class plus my blog, queerfatfemme.com, are all part of the Bevan universe. Just kind of helping people find a different way to perceive themselves. Because I was raised to really hate and loathe myself because of the size of my body, and coming to body liberation and the realization there was nothing I needed to change about me in order to be fundamentally worthy of love is just it's transformative, and my whole goal is to help you get there faster than me. So I'm here to pass my peace, figure out how I've found peace, and share it with you. I do solo episodes, and part of that is just storytelling and giving you updates about my life. And a lot of people really respond to that. So I'm here for you, babes, who are the ones who really love my solo episodes. And I was really inspired to do this today, even though I still have a good interview. I'm excited for you to hear my conversation with Colin Bedell, Queer Cosmos. That's coming up. But I wanted to do it today because it's Imbolc. Imbolc is one of the spokes in the wheel of the year. And I've talked a little bit about this on the podcast about how I've observing the wheel of the year, which is something that comes from my ancestral tradition. I mean, lots of ancestral traditions have Wheel of the Year. But for me, connecting to the way my ancestors experienced time and seasons and connection to the land and what the land is doing at a given time in the year is incredibly profound. And it's been a way for me to release capitalist striving, the never enough, the constant hustle, the constant need to prove or achieve, and instead just be like, roaming around in this beautiful circle again and again and observing this wheel has been, it's brought me so much peace, honestly. And I actually was pet sitting in this house on Samhain, which is it's the same day as Halloween, and it's what Halloween's based on because a lot of the Christian holidays are based on Celtic pagan traditions. And so what worked with the land. And also it defies the Gregorian calendar, right? Like we really want to land a date for something, but something one of my teachers shared with me is that these are seasons. Like it's not just like Imbolc is today, right? Like Imbolc is when the it means in the belly, and so it's when the sheep were pregnant, and so they started producing milk, and so in the belly, right? And it's a really milk-based holiday. So you give offerings of dairy or dairy-like products and just connect. So in some ways it feels my friend Sonia, who's been on this podcast before, talked about how every Jewish holiday is your honoring it with your ancestors because they also honored that holiday. And so I love this, like this, I feel the same about the Wheel of the Year. I feel very rooted and connected to tradition and connection, even though obviously I'm doing traditions much differently and I'm having to kind of make it up because I didn't learn stuff from my family of origin because they were colonized, right? So anyway, reclaiming and really appreciating it. And I just thought because Samhain begins the like real descent into darkness, and Imbolc really begins. It's like a 4 month parenthetical experience, and Imbolc really begins the return of the light. Um, so here we are, because the stirring of the land. This is something I even observed before I like rooted into Wheel of the Year stuff, but like I was just observing having moved up here to the North Pole. I call it the North Pole. It's so-called Washington. I'm on the border of Canada. The water border of Canada. There's water between here and Canada. And I started to actually observe this time of year. Like you can see leaves beginning to form. You can see like the early buds of things. And so it really is a stirring in the land. And by the time spring actually comes around, things are already blooming and vibrant and vigorous. So it's kind of exciting and I can feel the energy. And here we get such an extreme dark to light. So in the summer we get like 16 hours of light. It's like dark. It's like twilight at like 9:30. So like it's not really dark till like 11. And then it starts getting light at like 4 in the morning. So it's just such an extreme difference. But like the plants are so invigorated by all that light that I can really feel the energy of the plants. I wanted to also because it's in bulk. I have started doing a sale on my Patreon page. Patreon just allowed us to like do discount codes and sales. That's been a newer feature. And I did one for the first of the year, but it didn't feel right because the first of the year is not a stirring of energy. It is a going inside. It is a deep time for reflection. So I wanted to do my like big sale from for the month of February. And my idea is to do this annually. We'll see. But I have a lot of bills due for my aerobics class, which like it sounds like that's my main gig because it is my main focus, but I actually make money doing lots of things. I have made all my money from the aerobics class before. I hope to get to do it again. And I'm just here present for this beautiful idea that I've gotten to steward and shepherd for almost 9 years now. I'm really excited. March 2nd is her birthday. And so that's coming up in about a month. So this month, I'm doing 40% off annual memberships. I always have, this is patreon.com/FKDP. And I always have it 10% off for annual memberships for folks who want a discount and want to pay ahead, which I love because it just helps me get ahead on all the bills I have to pay to keep it going. Because there's being in, even if you don't have a brick and mortar, you still have a ton of stuff you have to pay for to run a business. And it's getting kookier than ever before. And anyway, so I figured this was like a good time to do it for folks, and like because it's the stirring of the year, because it's coming up on the anniversary, and because it's the anniversary of the class, it's also the anniversary of a lot of bills that come due that are annual for me. So I'm like, let's like move the energy for this. So if you want to, and I'm really hoping that this gets people more inspired to take the leap into the on-demand tier, because all of the workout classes I offer, I have so many now because I've been recording them and putting them up on Patreon now for, I think I started a Patreon 7 years ago. So it's been quite some time. And so it's quite an apothecary of healing opportunities. I have classes as short as 10 minutes, a lot in the 15 to 20-minute range, because that seems to be the sweet spot where a lot of people want videos and a lot of like 30-minute, 55-minute classes. I have chair aerobics classes. I have standing stretch classes. They are very, very low impact. And a lot of the standing stretch classes are designed for grief and grieving. So it's not like it's something that is just very much about being in your body and moving. And it's not on the ground like yoga, it's like standing. Because I find when I'm grieving, I can't clean my floor. My executive functioning is trash. And so I designed it to be available for people who are grieving. And so there's a lot of grief support stretch. And in these times, these recent times, I've been really focused on grief support stretch and rage aerobics because I have found doing even just a little bit of rage release work with my body has opened up like the glass ceiling for delight and joy to come in a way where if I'm ignoring my rage, like I can't experience the range of the positive emotions because there's too much energy going to suppress. So, and A Course in Miracles says that annoyance is just a rage turned downward. So, that's just a reminder you might need to release some rage. I love a good primal scream in the woods, but I'm also here to help you shepherd feelings through your body and for whatever you might need. So the apothecary has lots of different things for you. So patreon.com/FKDP. And this is a time sensitive offer. So March 1st, it'll go back to 10% off annual. Um, what else? Okay. Also, I have exclusive podcast episodes in the Patreon. So if you're like really into like the deep stuff and like stories that are a little bit too tender to tell publicly. There's a lot of good stuff in there, including a whole series about conflict and community. I have a series about spiritual self-care and support that really helps people like kind of, I basically just spill my guts about my spiritual practices, and then it helps other people like kind of figure out the framework for how they want to do their spiritual practices. And that's my spiel on Patreon. I really wanted to get into what's been going on for me, Bevan. I will say, I feel nuts. Like the world is bonkers, and I'm not immune to feeling the effects of the world at large. It's like a heartbreak, a devastation, a witness of trauma. Like every time I go into um, the world, the news, all of that things. I went off social media for like 6 months last year. Like, and by off, I was like mostly not posting and mostly not looking. And that was really good, but I don't feel called to that right now. I feel actually really called to be a present grounding force for other people and to shine my light. And that's been kind of weird and wild because I did actually intend to take some time off social media, and then I was like, oh, well, that's not resonant right now. And so I trust my intuition to guide me and take me where I'm needed and where my light is needed. And so even though I do feel kind of nuts and bonkers, I also feel very grounded because I put a lot of intention into feeling grounded. And like there's an episode I posted, I forget what number it is, but it's like from the winter solstice. So around December 21st, that episode goes through all my grounding techniques. So if you want to feel grounded, I have a whole episode for you. And so I'm feeling really grounded and nuts, like kind of both, And I think that is something my therapist likes to remind me is that I'm not immune to the energy that's going on around me. And so I do my best. Like I stay in the woods and I stay with people who feel like sunshine and feel like a joy to be around and a good connection. Even when my friends are going through a hard time, I still get good energy from a good connection with someone. But even still, it's nuts out there. So if you're feeling nuts, you're not alone. One big shift. I've been feeling the energy like last year, the energy really felt a lot like 2020. And it's kind of still more the same, if not worse, like more more maniacal criminal behavior in politics and all that kind of stuff. But I think I have just more experience grappling with uncertainty and pursuing rigorous self-honesty. I spent a lot of my life like unconsciously keeping the truth at bay because I didn't feel safe enough to feel the truth. And now I've really worked hard. This is the fruit of a healing practice, and it's taken years and years. But now I feel really safe no matter what. Like my safety's on the inside, and I've really discerned how I want to be and who matters and like what matters and what information streams matter and that kind of thing. And so I think that's really helped me a lot to like navigate even more unstable times. Um, so I offer that to you as like, if you're on a healing journey, perhaps that is a fruit you will have too. I know a lot of people who've been very traumatized, as I have been, who like really need, and this is how I used to be, just need the world to be a specific way, need my house to be a specific way in order to feel safe. Like, and instead of needing everything external to be that way, I'm like really internally stable, which is great. And what that enables me to do is to have higher risk tolerance because everything good is on the other side of your comfort zone and you got to fail forward. And let me tell you how I rushed headlong with that intention, failing forward, into making sourdough bread. I know I'm like very, speaking of 2020, I'm very late to that trend. I got a starter from my like childhood, not childhood, but we worked together as late teens. My bestie Spunky, her mom, we worked together at Girl Scout camp, and her mom sent me a sourdough starter that's older than me. It's like 60 something years old. In 2020, she sent it to my mom actually because my mom wanted a sourdough starter, but my mom didn't do anything with it. So I took it and started feeding it, and so I keep it for the family, right? And it's a great starter because like it'll come back to life like after being neglected for 6 months in the fridge. And but I've like pulled out this starter and fed it and got it back to active and used sourdough discard in recipes. But I've never actually gotten all the way to making bread. And I think that I don't know. I do know what my hold was there. And it was because I was afraid to fail. Because I kind of knew it was like sourdough bread making it's sort of following a recipe, but it's actually like learning the language of dough in many ways. Because you have to learn um, there's so much to learn. There's a lot of science in it, and there's a lot of like just figuring out like what the dough needs to look like, how long it takes, like being willing to be patient, like a sourdough loaf. Now, listen, I'm no expert. I've been at this two loaves now. I have made two loaves. But going from like just almost getting to start and then not starting to actually just start, fail forward, risk failure, and learn from it, that's a whole new place. And I know it's very low stakes with bread. But I just feel like this is like a metaphor for life and like everything you want on the other side of your comfort zone and like taking risks and taking vulnerability risks and things like that. Podcasting to me is like a comfort zone because I love to share anything that feels like it can be of service. You know what I mean? And like I get enough feedback. And please, if you have feedback for me about my podcast, a lot of times it feels like just broadcasting into the ether. But I know that there are 14 people now. There were 12 last year. This past year, there were 14 people for whom my podcast is their number one podcast, which is really sweet. And I love that. I love that. I think I signed off my last solo episode complaining about Spotify. So I'll say that's one of the best things about Spotify podcaster platform is that they give you these good stats at the end of the year. 14 people, this is their favorite podcast. So thank you for tuning in. And please send me feedback and things you like about the episode. And things that I've heard from people is that they love to hear what I'm learning and what I'm going through. So it encourages me to continue sharing and like serve you what serves you, right? So if something feels of service, it's very motivating to me, right? So podcasting, comfort zone, check. I love being on stage. I'm really good at it, check. Stranger interactions, social anxiety, that was a growth area. I've worked really hard at that. And so there's other places that like I'm leaning into for growth, and I feel nervous and excited about it. But I feel like the sourdough thing has just always been a nagging project in the back of my brain that like I really want to get good at making sourdough bread. It's the kind of thing you would learn from your grandmother. You know what I mean? Like there's so much that like used to be handed down in a family, and then colonization comes through and destabilizes everything, and we don't get to and whitewashes everything for real, and then we don't get to learn that stuff. So I watched a lot of videos about sourdough bread, and then I like was like, okay, we're just gonna try. We're just gonna start. So today, this morning, I baked my second loaf. Again, I'm acting as though I've really climbed this mountain and I am really just at the second camp on this mountain. But I baked my second dough, and I have a friend, Rachel Kimsey. She's been on this podcast. She's a Virgo. And so she's like my texting buddy about sourdough. And so she encouraged me to let that dough rise another day. She's like, just let it keep rising because if it's underproofing, um, you can always just keep going. And that's where, and flavor develops in it. And I have to say, even though the second loaf didn't quite rise, it's like way better than the first loaf, which was pretty flat. And the first loaf was even pretty good for being flat. But the second loaf, the rise isn't quite there, but the tang, oh my goodness, it's so delicious. Like I could not believe I made this out of simply flour, water, and salt is essentially it. I mean, sourdough starter too, but like that's just fermented flour and water, like just over time. So it's extraordinary, and how much flavor comes from this. Oh my God. I can still taste I can still taste my lunch. It was just so good. Anyway, so I have to say it is quite a rewarding task. I do understand why Taylor Allison Swift is also sourdough obsessive because it's a thing to figure out and pursue. And then like once I'm really good at it, then I can gift people bread and that'll be really fun. What a hero. You know what I mean? Like someone who brings you fresh bread. I have some friends who they're not sourdough people, but they do make fresh bread all the time and they send me home with some and it's just so nice to have fresh bread. Like it's just a different quality and you can make things a lot cheaper than you can buy them. It's also okay to buy them, right? But like again, this was something I wanted to be able to do was to like be a good sourdough mom, not only to keeping the starter alive, but also to making delicious things out of it. So I'm learning a lot and it's a fun winter project. So grateful for that. Also, I got really called to start experimenting with TikTok. Now, people have been telling me, I think you would be so big on TikTok for years. And like, I don't understand TikTok. But what I now understand is that you don't have to understand it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, listen, that was an important lesson I learned about me is that I don't have to feel understood by other people in order to feel their love for me. That was like a big aha moment in my relationship with my mom. Um, and I like also think one of the biggest things that Gen Z has going for it is like, I mean, raised entirely with like technology, right? Like the internet existed from their very beginnings. And so I think they don't really have to get something in order to get it. You know, it's like, I think it's just far less cerebral and much more vibes and like just leaning right into this new thing. So I think I was really holding myself back on it because I just didn't get it and I didn't understand the community and like I didn't understand training that algorithm into what I like. Um, I noticed the Instagram algorithm has just gotten more TikTok like over time, of course. And I'm tired of playing the meta game, honestly. Like I feel like my Instagram profile is simply a business card that shows who I am in the world. And like that's it. And like, yeah, I've used it as a tool over time, and two of my pin posts are specifically just about helping people with mental health, because I want to be there for them. And then everything else is just like I've tried sharing tools, I've tried sharing dance videos, all the things. I don't know. And again, like all of this stuff is just I don't know. So TikTok, I was like, my therapist basically said you can train it to just be otters and like hiking videos, and I was like, okay. And so I used it to learn about sourdough. Um, and I've used it to learn about lots of other stuff, and it's actually been quite delightful. And there's a few like creators who create TikTok lives that I really like. Like I like being in their presence. And I'm the kind of person where like if we're on a Zoom together, it feels to me like we're in a room together. When I teach an aerobics class on Zoom, I feel like I'm in the room with people. It's not quite the same as dancing with other people's bodies energetically, but it's like the energy is there for me. And that's not true for everyone. It's not true I think even for a majority of people. But for me, if I'm in a TikTok live with someone, I feel like I'm in the DJ booth with this DJ who's playing music for me, right? So I've been enjoying that, and so I think the next part of that journey is because Spirit has been nudging me to be practicing my psychic mediumship. I talked about this on the podcast before, but I've been in mediumship development for almost a year now. It's kind of wild, the switches that have been turned on in my like understanding and connection with spirit and like learning. I have two different classes now that I'm taking that are developing my skills in this. And like I feel like because I have these two great teachers in my life helping me with this specific thing, I'm like, I really need to be practicing so that I can go to them with questions and help that I need, right? And I think there's something spirit really needs me to get really good at readership to do. And I don't even know what the next step is, but I just know this is the step right now. And you never get to know, like, you don't get to know the whole staircase. You get to know the next step. So they want me developing my psychic mediumship. And I'm like, okay, so I keep putting it out there for, my community that I'm available for this. And it's not enough readings. Although I will say every single person that I've read one on one has come back for another reading. And now the person that I read, Spirit was really clear too that I had to exchange money for my readings. And part of that I think is like healing some of my soul level work around money. So, and I think it's also just the energy exchange of like not going around reading everyone, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically like sitting down at the table with someone, there's an exchange. So I did one person who's like just a longtime supporter of my aerobics class and a good friend. I did her for free because I wanted to do practice on Zoom. And she's coming back for a reading, paying for one. So like I feel like I'm like so successful at this because like you start something just like sourdough and you don't know if it's gonna work. And it's like I feel like it can work. I feel like this gift is really gifting with me. And now that I'm practicing with it, I'm really developing it. And so I want to do more. And I was like thinking about doing a residency at a local metaphysical shop, but I haven't yet found that link hasn't happened yet. That I haven't linked up for that. But I was kind of thinking, like maybe I do TikTok live. I mean, there's a lot of mediums on TikTok live. There's a lot of tarot readers, but that's kind of where my algorithm takes me anyway. And I was kind of like, maybe I could do TikTok lives. So I haven't yet done it yet. I haven't gone live yet, but It's possible it might happen very soon. And so my thought was like, let's try it for like a month and like go live like a few times a week and see what happens. Because the algorithm there, first of all, the little robot notifications keep telling me, go live. You're eligible to go live now. You should go live. And so I kind of want to do what the algorithm boss says, even though there is no robot boss of me, but I do kind of like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm intrigued enough in it to give it a shot. What do I have to lose? Like, I'm just going to spend some time with potential strangers on the internet. I love doing that. So we'll see. Maybe I can get a good clientele going there and just good practice. And like, and also like, again, I'm a Virgo rising, and your rising sign is your motivation in life. And Virgos are very motivated by service. So again, if I can be of service, I'm motivated to show up. So my plan is to go TikTok live. And if there's any interest on my Patreon for me doing that, doing like live readings on Patreon, I'll do that too, because I don't want to be like exclusive to one corporate overlord thing. But again, marketing is like the forever trying to figure out how to tell new people about the things you offer. And I really want to serve more clients. So that's my focus there. So I don't know if that inspires you to go do the scary thing, and like go expose yourself to what's potentially available for you on the other side of the scary thing. Um, let's see, what else did I want to tell you about? We talked about rage release. Oh, Bobby Weir. So Bobby Weir is one of the co-founders of the Grateful Dead. He was the other one, right? Quote unquote. He's there's a great documentary about him on Netflix called The Other One. And Jerry Garcia passed um, when I was in high school. I remember very clearly. I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area just like they did. And I was born really close to where they were born, like all of them. And so it's like I grew up with my dad listening to the Dead. Not that he was pretty absentee, but when he was around, I heard the Dead, right? And I always knew I'd be a Grateful Dead fan. I just didn't know when or how that was going to happen. And then I'm a pandemic Deadhead. It was like a very constant. I was like, I got to study this. So, like, probably for like 3 months, that's what I did every night was I listened to the Dead and I listened to song by song, and that's really how I got into it. I tried listening to concerts and that never worked. It's song by song. You get to know the songbook, and then it's like a whole world opens up for you. And Bobby died 11,111 days after Jerry, which I find auspicious and amazing. Um, Jerry came to me in a shamanic journey as a joy guide. And so, like, I've had a lot of metaphysical contact with Jerry, which I think is very special and sacred. And I find, I don't go around telling everybody about it, but I don't go around telling everybody all my spiritual business. But here we are on my podcast, so I'll tell you. But when Bobby died, I don't know, it just hit me harder than I could have anticipated. And I didn't get a heads up from the universe directly that that was going to happen. But I will say that so I call in at the beginning of every Fat Kid Dance Party class, I have people call in a tree, and do like basically kind of a short meditation with a tree as we're doing this stretch. And just what kind of tree are you? And like connecting to the tree and drawing light. And the redwood trees are very important to me. I grew up in the Bay Area. They're like my healing tree. And the that comes up a lot. Like when I'm doing inner child healing with like me as a baby, like 18 months old or so, the redwood tree is really where, like, it's almost like I was born from a redwood tree on the coast. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of feel that energy in me. But so redwood trees were coming in strong for like a month and a half before he passed. Like just every time it was a redwood tree. And I was like, well, okay. So maybe that was my heads up from the universe. But I felt so blindsided. I felt like so. And then I saw this really great interview from him about how he's like, I see death as a release. I see it as an ongoing. I feel glad for people when they die. And if I'm sad, that's about me. And I was like, ooh. I'm sad. So therefore, this is about me. And it is. Like, I just really always thought I'd get to meet Bobby. I always have more questions for him. Like, it's funny because, like, when you meet someone you admire, this is good advice I got from my favorite leadership author, John Maxwell. When you meet someone you admire, have questions for them because if you have good questions, you might get to meet him again, because people like to feel valued and like, so like, and I know something is really for me and about like I'm meant to be pursuing this thing if I have lots of questions and curiosity. And I feel like I just had like I feel like I've mentally just like pages of questions for Bobby. And I thought I'd always get to interview him someday. And then suddenly all the possibilities go away. That's one of the big things about grief and death and dying is like there's a realm of possibilities, and then suddenly there is not that realm of possibilities. And like, and I was feeling like, I mean, it was just a real mind fuck actually, because like I was just like, I'm a psychic medium now. I've been working on these skills. So it's not as though I can't call in his spirit and ask questions. Like, so like, what is it, and I think it's just the possibility of getting to meet him and connect with him and see him perform live in person. But again, like I've seen many of his shows like through the glory of the internet. I'm so grateful for the internet. And so anyway, it's funny because like intellectually grief doesn't make sense, but like it doesn't stop it. And so the only answer is just to be present with your feelings and allow them, right? And to honor them and release them and learn from them. And so that's what I've had to do. It's very funny because like 3 years ago, I did a series over the winter of grief support stretches to Terrapin Station, which is a really good dead song for transmuting grief. And so I made myself the medicine, the whole shelf on the apothecary for this time. Exactly. It's wild how, like, as an artist, if you are conscientious to the muse and create, you will create your own medicine. It is so beautiful when that works out. And then also, of course, I've been very inspired in these times because I've been doing a renewal of grief support stretch classes. And the idea was, quote, different music. But now I'm just using different Bob Weir music. I've already done two Bobby Weir grief support stretch classes, and probably, and at least have one more, but probably many more to go, because I'm just in it. And so I sob a lot about it. I mean, like this is real. Like feelings are very real and very like I cried. I watched his homecoming service, which is beautiful. If you care about the dead, even if you don't, if you just want to see a beautiful homecoming service, the tribute to him is on YouTube and it is so good. I live streamed it. I'm really glad. I had really thought that I was gonna, by some miracle, get to go to Brandy Carlisle's Mexico weekend. Girls Just Want a Weekend. And sadly, that never came together. It just felt like it was coming together, and then it never came together. But then I got to be home, so I could live stream this beautiful service. So anyway, everything is always working out in whatever way it's meant to. Um, but of course, I sobbed during that service. I sob randomly when I think about it. I cried at the Grammys last night watching it with my mom because I didn't expect there to be like a specific Bob Weir. I think it's 60 seconds long. It's not that long, but it was real. I mean, I don't like to cry in front of my mother because she finds it very alarming. Because her mama bear protector wants to come out and fix something, and I'm like, I just want to be able to cry. I've got a Scorpio moon. I'm supposed to cry. It's part of my birthright. I'm supposed to cry. That's how I release my feelings. So anyway, I try not to harass myself because I don't fully understand why I'm feeling this grief. I just am. And so, but I also am grateful for my art and being able to do it. So, even last night, there's some conventional wisdom, and I'll just put this out here for people to consider. There's some conventional wisdom to leave the dead alone, like not the Grateful Dead, but dead people alone and let them have their transition time before you call them in with a medium. A lot of mediums won't read for people until after 6 months after someone's passed. And to me, and I talked to one of my teachers about this, and like, I think it's spirit dependent. Certain spirits are really big and really powerful and very capable of coming through immediately, even before they pass. And I've had that experience before. So I felt Bobby's energy almost immediately. And I'm not going to tell you all my spiritual business, but I did like sit down and meditate with him last night after the Grammys. And I asked him one thing that's nice to ask people, ancestors or anybody that you're wanting to connect with and work with, um, like what do you want on the altar? What kind of offerings would be nice for you? And I learned that from Jess Baker, who was just on this podcast. And his answer was, "You're already doing it." He's like, "The way you honor the music, the songbook really matters. That's my offering." And he's like, "I love the art you make with the work." And getting a compliment from a spirit is one of my favorite things. I love an atta girl from the universe, like just a simple, "You're doing a great job. I'm so proud of you." From any of the guides or the folks that I connect to, I love that. And so that was a really like, of all the questions I have, which I will sit down and continue to meditate and connect and get those answers. Like, but still, there's always more. There's always more to learn. There's always more to develop. And I still haven't watched all the things, and I'm so grateful that he left such a body of work. That's really something I'm quite focused on. That's something I learned from, I studied Prince. I talked about this on the podcast a few years ago, but I really studied Prince for like 4 years. Like every day, I was like in the archives, watching old interviews, like listening to his music, watching videos. Like he created a tremendous body of work, and that mattered so much to him, the body of work. And I think there's such a gift. And when Catherine O'Hara died on Friday, oh my God. I can't with this. I can't with this. It's too much. There's too much going on in the world. And now people that are really meaningful to me keep exiting. But it occurred to me, I was like, because Best in Show is one of my favorite movies. Christopher Guest movies are like mockumentaries. It's such a genre I love. It just tickles me. And I realized I haven't spent any time with Catherine O'Hara that didn't delight me. And what a tremendous gift as an artist to just be a delight and to lift people's spirits and make them think and experience joy. So that really inspires me to keep going on my body of work, even though it like kind of feels frustrating at times, hard at times that like the numbers aren't there, with things. And like I think we get really, again, this is like my transition away from like capitalist striving, like looking at metrics and caring about metrics. I know it frustrated Prince, like that his numbers weren't where he thought they should be. But like when you're kind of, I mean, I think Prince is a visionary, and I think the things that he was saying like 15 years ago are like absolutely true, and people are really now on a more like if you listen to his song Colonized Mind, there's a lot in there. And that was from like I think 2009 when he released that. So like there's so much that like things aren't ready to be got yet in the mainstream, and then eventually they will be, right? So I kind of trust that. And I also like, to me it's not really the numbers, it's the effect. And so when people, again, I solicit your feedback. You can email me fatkiddanceparty@gmail.com. It's the effect that matters. And so I know there's someone listening to this 20 years from now somehow, because my digital archives really matter to me, and I will keep this going. Like my blog, I started my blog in like at the end of 2007, and it's still up, and I still keep adding to it. And I will confess that I have a half-written Bobby Weir, I'm grieving about this thing and I don't know, like I'm not fully grappling with it post that I haven't finished, but here I am talking about it on the podcast, but it doesn't matter if I duplicate things. Anyway, all that to say, my archives matter. Hi, 20 years later. I hope you're enjoying this episode. Um, and I also trust that 20 years from now, I'm going to be so different and just keep evolving and like being who I'm meant to be then, because I'm always who I'm meant to be in the now moment, especially since I released a lot of the God. I was just reflecting today. I had a great catch up with my friend Shyla Joy, who was on the podcast, I think November or December, I think. And Shyla and I were catching up and um, just talking about, she was asking me about my breakup, which was almost 7 years ago. Just nuts to think that my second fiance and I broke up almost 7 years ago. And it's funny because I've had so many real realizations and done so much work on it in therapy that my clarity about that time is so much stronger. So like I have to go back in time to like who I was and what I was willing to perceive at the time when that breakup happened, because it felt like such a shock and a surprise. But when I can go back and like repiece together the intuition I wasn't listening to, I should have broken up with her like a year and a half before that, which is wild. So anyway, and you know what? Part of why I was just like so consciously frozen to the truth was because I was so afraid of the uncertainty I would have to grapple with if we broke up. But I had to grapple with that uncertainty anyway. So, like, I wish I had been brave and connected to my intuition and just done the thing, because I think things could have worked out in a much different, higher vibration way for me. But anyway, now I'm like very committed to my intuition and this healing work that has created the safety inside me. And may I always be protected and guided. So anyway, um, where was I going with that? I don't know. But I wanted to share one other thing on this podcast episode. And which is that I got a great question from a regular listener. I don't know if she's even in the top 14, but probably. She's a member of my Patreon and had just sent me like a question asking, like, you mentioned like early on in the podcast that you had an intuitive hit that you were going to date a touring musician. And is that still true? And it was such a good question because I'm like, I forgot that I said that. I don't go back and listen to my solo episodes. It's like too cringe for me. But I did mention that, and I will tell you, I have had multiple people recently asking me about my love life, and I am like sad to say that I have nothing to report. It is dry, but I love where I live. I live rurally, and I love my friends, I love my community, and I love what I've created here. And I know there's like a perception. One of my good friends out here is like 39 and she talks about moving back to the city so she has more dating prospects. And I was kind of like, I just feel so opposite of that. Like, I don't want to move somewhere to have more dating prospects. Like, I know what it was like to live in the city and be single and available. And like, yeah, I dated a lot more. And yeah, when I was traveling a lot more, I had like, there was a period of time where I had a girl in every port. Maybe a couple were non-binary in every port, but whatever. Like, I had my times. And I'm glad that, I mean, listen, I'm a very passionate person. I'm for a Venus and Scorpio and a Mars and Capricorn. I love being in love and I love good flirtation and all of that stuff. But I kind of trust that, like, I haven't really had chemistry with like that many people. And I just feel like if there was a right connection, there would be a right connection, right? And so I'm just really trusting where I'm at. And like honestly, like if I did fall in love with someone, I would try to woo them to have a home base out here, like because this is such a good healing spot for me. I feel like living here, I'm just like looking out of the mountains right now, like cuddled in clouds and like the sea. I'm at a pet sit and they have a really nice water view. So like I'm like I love it here. It's so magical. It makes me feel so like truly part of the earth and I love being here and I wouldn't sacrifice that just for the potential of dating someone who was living in a city. The musician thing still feels very real, but I also have felt and had dreams about a backup plan. So I actually kind of feel like, and my guides have told me, like, I talked about this in the psychic predictions episode, but like, there's things that like other people are going through that like have nothing to do with you that like hold back things that are meant to have been manifested before. My guides have told me this year is the year. So, and seven is the number of completion. So if I've, and it's funny because I was realizing today that like it was actually 7 years from the end of my first fiance relationship. That was nuts. Someday I'll tell you that whole story on the podcast. Um, I talk about being willfully ignorant to the truth. That was me. Anyway, so I think it was seven. I have to go back and look at a calendar, but like, since I was in a situationship with my second fiance for 5 months, and then she broke up with me for like 6 months, and then we got back together. I think it was 7 months to when we got back together as partners. And I will tell you, don't get back together. Don't get together with your situationship as partners without reviewing all the red flags that you ignored because it was just a situationship. This was me, again, willfully ignoring things. But that is my lesson, my wisdom that I pass to you, is if you want to consider turning situationship. Listen, we're all thinking about heated rivalry now, right now. There was only before or after heated rivalry. And that is one of those beautiful corrective experiences where you watch a situationship turn into a relationship. But have a moment where you consider what are the red flags that I didn't look at because it didn't matter then to like now I'm going to be in a partnership with this person. Here are these red flags. Let's talk about them. At least talk about them. But I was so convinced that like we were meant to be together that I was just, heading that freight train out. Anyway, I think it was 7 years exactly between the end of the first fiance and the beginning of partnership with second fiance. So this is the year, is what the guides tell me. And so I'm very curious who it's going to be. Is it backup plan? Is it touring musician? Is it some secret third thing? I don't know. I think the secret third thing is the backup plan. Or it's nothing. Like, because honestly, I started this year and I was like, I am single. I feel really satisfied with my life. I love being alone. I love being alone. I love the serenity of being alone. And I love getting to make all the choices for my life. And I love my friends and I'm having these like rich and beautiful conversations and I have people in my life who make me laugh and that is what matters most to me. It's just like the present moment enjoyment of like where I'm at and what I'm doing and like I don't know. So that's the convoluted answer to that question, which is yes, I still anticipate that person. I cannot believe it's been this long, but every year that passes, I get better and better because I'm really committed to growth and like becoming a better and more loving version of myself. And I had a reading, Jess Baker, who was recently on this podcast and is one of my besties, offered me a free spirit. She does a spirit guide reading. So she offered me one for my birthday. And this incredible messages came through, including and especially a message about like an ancestral wound that had been installed in my maternal line from colonization, and a ritual to help release that wound. It was like creating like an ice barrier to like true, honest love and connection. And so I've been working on that, and I've had some incredible, like honestly, like scary abuse reflections, but not like bad scary, like stuff that came up in therapy. And I remember telling my therapist twice, I'm so glad this came up while I was with you so I could talk it through and notice these feelings in this environment and like stuff coming up about that and like how like these wounds come up and these like barriers to love come up when we've been so injured by people who were supposed to love and protect us. And I'm also reading All About Love by Bell Hooks, which I have to read real slow because it's truly like hard to hear that stuff about growing up in an abusive environment. But, you know, I'm a really highly sensitive person who grew up incredibly neglected and I mean, and on the scale of abuse, like this is how I ignored it for so long was it wasn't that bad, right? But like even not that bad is still really, really, really too much for a sensitive child. And no child deserves to feel that way. And the stuff that has come up in the last couple weeks has been about when I was 11 years old. And I just like was sitting there doing the inventory and I was like, I didn't have any safe adults in my life at 11 years old. I was so alone. And I was really like socially isolated. And I had a really toxic friend group at school that would like drop me. Like I put that in quotes because that was the word that people used, but like they would just stand up at the lunch table and leave me. This happened twice. And like, no, ditch me. That's what it was. They would ditch me. And it was like so gross the way I was treated. And like, I wish. I mean, this is what inner child work is. It's like literally going back and sitting with those feelings that you still have from that wounding and showing them the love and unconditional understanding and connection that they needed. And thank God I turned into an energy healer because energy work, it feels too simple to work, but it really does. And like there are a lot of things I went through as a kid and a teen, that like I can't believe I survived. I like truly the fact that I am still alive is a miracle in many ways, not just because of outside factors, but also inside factors. And like I go back in time, like at certain points where it's like, oh, click, I'm supposed to do this. And like I go back in time and I do some stuff and set it up. Like I've set up a beautiful crystal grid in my bedroom at 11 years old. And like, I know now I'm very conscious of my spirit team and like my constant plus one, you know, and I'm really grateful I can do that work. Okay. I hope that does. How do you wind it up? I don't know. I feel awkward, but nobody ever died of awkward. So here we are. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for hanging in there for this whole solo episode. I hope that it brought you some kind of revelation or company. I'm really just your parasocial bestie here to help you regard yourself with love and grace. And I'm grateful for you tuning in. Please like, subscribe, rate, and review. It always helps to get the word out to other people. And like if you hear someone who you think would benefit from my work in the world somewhere, or you want to tell your therapist or your doctor about Fat Kid Dance Party aerobics, that's the greatest form of new clients I ever get is from people's therapists or doctors. And this Chihuahua is telling me it's time for his dinner. Yes, it is your dinner time. I love you so much. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, everybody.